Joe, could you just take us through the executive order for the NIL stuff and what the approval today means for you guys? I guess break it down to us like we're middle schoolers.
You all have degrees. Come on. Well, this is a necessary step for us to take advantage of the leadership of our state, and we thank Governor Stitt for providing the executive order so schools in our state can use funds from our athletic program to support NIL efforts. It's no secret that there are a patchwork of state laws across this country, and the differences can create a competitive disadvantage. I know in our state that the leadership wanted to ensure that our schools have the competitive advantage that any other school has. So we really appreciate his leadership in providing the executive order. But then it requires us to do certain things within our system as a public university, one of which is to allow funds to go to an outside entity requires an approval by the board, because the funds in totality could go above the minimum level requiring board approval. So that's what that was about in the early part. The other part of the NIL board action, if you would go back and read, it sets us up for the eventual change that we see coming July 1st. And now that'll allow us to pay the athletes directly. So it's a bit of a comprehensive agenda item, if you will, and giving us the chance to do the business as the world evolves. This House case gets settled, and all the institutions now are able to compensate their athletes under the rev share cap. So again, this is a good move across the board, and allows Oklahoma to continue to be in the forefront of all of these changes.
Joe, same question about the master plan updates with the stadium. What's kind of the timeline in your mind for the next step in the process?
Well, we're quite a few months away from taking another step, but this was an expected procedural addition to what the board approved back in September. And normally in this process, when an architect is hired and they go forward with schematic design and moving from any preliminary designs that may have been out there you have seen, we engage a construction manager in the process. So as further design, detail, investigation around all of the work we're considering in the stadium takes place, the construction manager can work side by side with the architect. And it allows us to be better positioned with the knowledge of costs associated with such a large project. And I think it's just a great move to help us be more efficient. And so that's what was planned for January, and that action took place.
Joe, Curtis Lofton announcing that he was stepping down as general manager. Just in terms of that search, what's kind of a timeline in terms of filling that role, and what does that kind of look like in that search? So
we have opened the search for a general manager. We've had several inquiries into the position. We're talking with teams, to learn about some of the great young talent that exists, but there's also a few people that have expressed interest that have NFL general manager experience. So we'll plan to take the group of candidates that we develop and then narrow it down to 2 or 3 that we'll bring to campus for interviews.
Would you like to have that done before the spring portal window?
Yes.
I know you guys, enlisted Jake Rosenberg and his group to kind of start helping last summer.
Yeah.
I guess, how does he factor into the whole general manager search and situation, or does he at all?
Well, he has continued to be of great service to us. He's played a superb role in developing the system and structure that we put into place last fall. It served us very well during the first portal period, and the work that he did and continues to do to assist us. Will not result in him being the general manager, but he'll be a great partner, and his company will work with us for the foreseeable future. But obviously, he has a great deal of contacts, so he's been very, very helpful in helping us identify some outstanding candidates. I mean, that was his role, and working, for the Philadelphia Eagles, and so he's been outstanding assistance to us, and will be in the months going forward.
Joe, it's not necessarily something that is maybe necessarily easy to answer in a few minutes or so, but there's obviously been a lot of talk back and forth about private equity entering college sports. How much have you thought about that and the positives or the ramifications of that happening? Do you have like an elevator pitch on private equity in college sports?
Well, if I did, the people listening would eyes would glaze over, and they would stop listening. It is a very complicated subject. I'm aware that it has become a big topic in the world of sports, private equity getting in a variety of different sports, particularly at the professional level. So the question gets asked, why not college? And certainly there have been a lot of private equity groups that have expressed interest. I get inquiries once every 10 days or so, somebody wanting to come make a pitch to us about that. It is a very complicated subject, and while it has its intrigue on the surface, there's a lot more behind the scenes, and that would not just be a paradigm shift for college athletics overall, but we're a public entity, and that's a whole different kettle of fish when you're talking about taking a piece of your financial formula and selling it to an outside private firm. Not to say that it won't ever happen, not to say that it couldn't happen, but it's going to take a lot more study. And the early proposals that I have seen have not triggered a sense of urgency to move that direction, but there is some intrigue. And I think that the world we're in, it's incumbent upon us to keep options open and always try to position our universities and our programs in the best way possible. So I'm not saying you'd foreclose any opportunity for it, but I would say it's a lot more complicated than what meets the eye.
Apologies if you already answered this question. We were talking to President Harris, but just really briefly, how do you think that $12 million project will impact the fan base at OU, advancements with the stadium, and going forward in the SEC?
Oh, the stadium project? Well, it's a continuation of a master plan that the board approved back in 2014. You saw the first phase of it that completed the south end zone, not just the fan amenities, but the student athlete amenities as well. This is a continuation of that. Some parts of the master plan we've completed in smaller phases since then, but this is an enormous endeavor. And at this moment, we haven't gone to the board for approval to move forward with construction. We're still in the design phase. So the part that you ask is a necessary and important element to taking what was done in the preliminary work and getting into much greater detailed schematic design and moving toward construction documents. But there are a lot of pieces of this that have to be investigated, because that west side that we're talking about, the base part of the stadium, is more than 100 years old. So yes, we love the historic nature of it, but we want to be able to improve the premium spaces and the fan amenities, so we can continue to add to those 26 years of sellouts that we've had.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a...
Gotta wrap up. Last one.
Oh, last one. How's the defensive coordinator search going, I guess, and how involved are you in that? And do you hope to have something soon?
It's going well, and I think it's Yes, very close.
And then one last quick one. The stadium thing, do you have like a year that you're like, we want to start construction on this time, or is it still kind of?
Well, we've been reluctant to put the specific year out there yet because that requires the next phase of approval. But obviously we're doing all the work to put us in a position to make a sound decision when this phase of the work is done. And, so, it would be, in the near term as best as possible.